What's happening, everybody? Courier666. Today, let's talk about crafted sets. In my opinion, crafted sets remove or at least reduce the need to spend a ridiculous amount of gold or time to farm the shiniest or best sets. With ZeniMax to their credibility, not nerfing these into the ground with each update or addition to the game, I'll go over the set's ideal use, its location, and requirements in order for you to be able to get these. Crafted sets. Okay, let's get into it. What are these? How do I get them? A few methods here. Have a character proficient enough in their research and skill level with the accessibility through your guild or with a subscription to ESO Plus in order to access these. Reason being, some of these sets will require DLC that some people may or may not have, with ESO Plus providing those DLC and always offering you the opportunity in order to access not only the DLC, the dungeons and everything, but these crafted sets included. Guild being the easier method here. Let me highlight that. That would be the most direct approach anyways. However, crafted sets can also be custom made by another player for you, and that is always an option. It always pans out to have accessibility though. Your research and of course your own determination and your opinion will play into what sets fit your needs. I'm using a Grandmaster crafting station, and so my list is compiled in an alphabetical and almost chronological manner. I'm not saying in this video that one is better than the other in this release, nor did I organize it by trait, unfortunately. Just if it caught my eye, it's still useful, used, or a decent set or option for your gameplay or your style of play. Keep that in consideration. Just take a look at what I've got for you here. Keeping that in mind and slowing our roll down here a little bit, we're going to start on Alliance Zones. First one to pop out to me is Hunding's Rage. Even though it's an OG set, released 9 years ago on console, 10 years ago on PC, it is going to provide you with critical chance, max stamina, critical chance, and at 5 pieces, it's going to give you weapon and spell damage based off of the tooltip values, right? And it's going to require 6 crafting traits. It is still a decent set when run in conjunction with another set. The next set that we're looking at actually is a perfect setup with this one, being Night Mother's Gaze, which is going to add critical chance, weapon and spell damage, critical chance, and then apply major breach to the enemy on its 5-piece trait when you deal critical damage. It also requires 6 traits in order to craft this set. So keep those in mind, pairing those up when you're looking at running these. Night Mother's Gaze can be run in conjunction with a lot of other sets, so long as that critical chance is higher, since it will only apply major breach when critical damage is dealt. Torix Pact is up next as a tanking option from our OG crafted sets at adding max armor value, adding maximum health, adding armor value again, and then decreasing the weapon enchantment cooldown by 33% and increasing non-oblivion damage weapon enchantments potencies by 45%. Now this one isn't that bad. It is a great crafted set for tanking early on. It only requires 3 traits. This is something super easy for you to get a hold of if you're trying to tank those early game dungeons. It is a PvE set. I do not recommend this one, however, for PvP. Next up is Armor the Seducer. It is going to fit the same stereotype as our next set, as well as these are both going to be sustain sets. Sustain sets saw a little bit of a phase out about 2 years ago in gameplay. Armor the Seducer is going to add Magicka Recovery, Max Magicka, Magicka Recovery, and reduce the cost of your Magicka abilities by 10%. Required traits to craft are 3 here. And the next set is Magnus's Gift. Magnus's Gift, another sustain set, as we said, is a max Magicka, Magicka Recovery, weapon and spell damage, and as you cast in a Magicka ability, you have a 15% chance to negate that ability's cost. Here it's going to require 4 traits. Keep in mind that I'm not saying don't use these. They are sustain sets. If you are struggling with sustain, especially for a healer build or something, this is super viable for you and an early game option until you can learn how to utilize or get those passive skill points into your abilities to where you need them so that you no longer need to run these sets. Alright, let's go ahead and skip to DLC zones from those. From DLC zones, you have Ancient Dragon Guard that's going to pop right out to me. It's going to add maximum health, add weapon and spell damage, add critical chance, and then at 5 items, it's going to do weapon and spell damage while above 50% health, and then it's going to, below 50% health, raise physical and spell resistances. You're going to need 6 traits in order to craft this set. So 6 researched traits. It's going to require the Dragonhold DLC. It's located in Southern Elsewhere. And then also on top of that, it's going to require some quest line completion or achievements if you do not have this at a guild hall crafting station. In order to access this in the world, you're going to have to do some questing, right? Alright, next up, Clever Alchemist. Clever Alchemist, great in PvP. I cannot stress that enough. I love this set. So 2 items is going to be maximum health, then it's going to go to maximum health again on the next perk, adding weapon and spell damage, and then at 5, you're going to, when you drink a potion during combat, you feel a rush of energy, increasing your weapon and spell damage by X amount for 20 seconds. Now you need 7 traits researched in order to craft this, and it does require the Thieves Guild DLC again, unless at a guild hall. If you have a guild hall, I cannot stress it enough, so I don't have to keep on saying this. You don't require that DLC at that point. If they have it at your guild hall, you're good to go. But Clever Alchemist, PvP, oh my goodness, most stamina builds, I love it. Daedric Trickery set. The Daedric Trickery set, it's going to increase maximum health, max stamina, max magicka. 5-piece, when you deal damage. You deal damage all the time, especially in PvP. That's where this set's going to shine. When you deal damage, you gain 1 of 5 random major buffs for 21 seconds every 9 seconds. Eligible buffs are Expedition, Protection, Mending, Heroism, or Vitality. Requires 8 traits to craft, guys. It is super good. Instead of sustained sets nowadays, Daedric Trickery really has taken that one's place in that role a lot of the time. An uncrafted set, and just a mention to it, Trainee has really filled that void. The Trainee set under Miscellaneous in the Collection Sets item. Druid's Braid next up on the list. Now, I don't use this one for its maximum amount of pieces. It's going to just be a whole lot of max values in a health, magicka, stamina order, right? It's going to require 7 traits. I only use this a lot of the time in order to fill that void in my below 50 fights, BGs, dueling, PvE, because here you have 1 item giving you max health and 2 items giving you max magicka. Especially below 50 when you're leveling or something, Druid's Braid is really going to be a great 2-piece set, seeing as you're able to use 2 5-pieces and a 2-piece set. A lot of the time, actually all the time, you're not going to have a mythic below level 50, right? Fortified Brass, another tanking set, and really something I use in conjunction with Torag's Pact. Fortified Brass is going to, at 2 items, give you maximum health, 3 armor, 4 armor, and 5 a whole lot of armor. You're going to need 4 traits researched in order to utilize or craft this set, You just 4 traits to craft it. Get somebody if you don't have 4 traits. 4 traits is easy to go ahead and get yourself. Kvatch Gladiator, next up on the list. Critical chance, add weapon and spell damage, and at 5 pieces, weapon and spell damage against targets who are at or below 25%. So this one is good for PvE and PvP. It would probably shine a little bit better in a PvP setup or situation. 5 pieces researched in order to craft that for each piece. Law of Julianos, oldie but a goodie. It's a little bit outdated. It's a little bit outclassed, especially with some of the other ones on this list. Add critical chance, maximum magicka, critical chance, and 300 weapon or spell damage. Kinda similar there to what we had with Hunding's Rage, so needs to be run in conjunction with another set for it to be viable, guys. You're going to be at 6 traits researched in order to craft this. Naga Shaman, something that I needed to add to this list, and really one of the pieces, along with others, that pushed me from doing a top X amount video. Naga Shaman is going to be 4% healing taken, 4% healing done, maximum magicka, right? When you apply a damage shield to yourself or an ally, you gain minor mending and minor vitality for 6 seconds, increasing your healing done by 8% and healing received and damage shield strength by 6%. What does that scream? Like, to me that screams healer, and that screams arcanist. Arcanist healers are whipping shields left and right if they're doing their jobs properly, not to call anybody out there, but I mean at 2 pieces, 2 research traits in order to craft this, there's just no reason. If you've got an arcanist healer below 50, you ain't got trials gear, throw this on it, give it a shot. Mechanical acuity at maximum magicka and stamina for the first couple items. Then you're looking at weapon and spell damage. When you deal non-critical damage, you gain a stack of mechanical acuity, granting you 20% critical strike chance per stack, up to once every second, stacking up to 5 times upon reaching max stacks. Effect ends. Cannot occur for 25 seconds. That right there is what pushed this to be a little bit more outdated. A 25-second cooldown, right? So this one is on there. It's still okay. It's still viable. It's still useful. Not something I would run unless you're really looking at quite literally hitting that or checking that proc marks off in the PvP box for a proc set. But PvE wise, maybe early game, definitely still useful, but not something I would be looking to run or add to my build. 6 traits here in order to craft it. New Moon Acolyte set, another one of my favorites. Adds critical chance, weapon and spell damage, offensive penetration, and then weapon and spell damage, but increases the cost of your active abilities by 5%. That may sound like a lot. I will promise you right now, you start running this from the get-go, from the gate, level 4, you're not going to feel it, you're not going to see it, you won't see the difference in that 5%. Don't worry about it. Ignore that, take it for its immediate additives, and don't even worry about the connotations or the negatives to this set here. This set is super good. It's going to be 9 traits to craft, though. So you may, especially if you're newer, have to have somebody craft this for you. Order's Wrath. Wow, like that's just... What can I say against this one? Nothing, really. Critical chance, weapon and spell damage, critical chance, and increases your critical damage and critical healing by 8%. This has become the go-to set. It is the GOAT. It has definitely and always outshone its counterpart, Claw of the Forest Wrath. I don't have that one on the list here because that one only affects class. I don't really think that affecting only a class is going to work out for you most of the time. Didn't feel that it was necessary. Order's Wrath is going to outshine a lot of crafted sets. Its name is out there. No one does not know about this set, right? It's going to require 3 traits in order for you to craft it. Seeker Synthesis, kind of a silent partner here. This one is best run, in my opinion, in conjunction, and you'll have to hear me out on this, with Clever Alchemist. So with Clever Alchemist in mind, Clever Alchemist is boosting when you utilize a potion, right? Well, Seeker Synthesis is add maximum health, magicka, stamina. When you cast an ability that costs resources while in combat, you reduce your potion cooldown by 1 per second, which effect can occur every 2 seconds. Clever Alchemist was, when you drink a potion in combat, you're increasing that weapon and spell damage. Apply a couple of alchemy enchants, reducing the cooldown of potion use, with the alchemy skill line passive to reduce or increase the amount of time that you have for the bonuses or benefit of a potion. you have a pretty viable build with barely any downtime at that point, in my opinion. That one cannot really fail. This one was used as a cheese build. There's a couple of YouTubers or content creators that were trying to keep this a little bit of a secret under wraps. It has been nerfed slightly. It is not as viable of a combination as it once was. It is something to try out though, especially if you're still looking for a setup there. It's going to require 7 traits, not listed on the website for some reason. Shacklebreaker. Alright, returning to the whole sustain set motif here. Stamina and magicka recovery, weapon and spell damage, and max stamina and max magicka. It's going to require 6 traits to craft. Stoons. Stoons Favor. Adds weapon and spell damage. Adds offensive penetration. Adds weapon and spell damage again. And when you deal damage to an enemy who is off balance, or offensive penetration is increased by 5,312 for 10 seconds. Right? So this is going to be good for PvP, PvE. Some builds are easier to set a target off balance than other builds, other classes. It really depends there, but a lot of these options are going to be viable for PvP or PvE. Stoons, in my opinion, is more favorable to the PvP side of things. Definitely not something that I would be running in group play, or at least announcing that I was. Wretched Vitality. This is the other set, other than Daedric Trickery, that is run in PvP a whole lot. It is a sustained set, but there is a reason as this one is not considered in the same manner or the same regards, as you have certain conditions that need to be met. Magicka recovery, stamina recovery, weapon and spell damage, and wall in combat. Applying a major buff or debuff to a target grants you 260 magicka or stamina recovery, both actually. Wall in combat, applying a minor debuff or buff to target applies 130 magicka and stamina recovery for 15 seconds. That is a whole lot of recovery, probably more recovery than you could even think that you could get. It's very vague though. Major buff or debuff. Sundered does apply here, and so just to give it a quick little shout, the Nightblade class is actually very easy, especially if you're one of those surprise attack spammers. You can easily use this set in conjunction with a whole lot of other sets on this list and constantly have that uptime for the recovery. Requires 3 traits to craft. Not a bad option. Alright, and lastly, we've got our miscellaneous sets. So miscellaneous sets, first one that catches my eye is Kagranak's Hope, right? Kagranak's Hope is going to be a really good base game, early game, crafted set for our healers. It's not providing a bonus to healing so much as it's going to assist us with its 5-piece trait. It's good for PvP and PvE. It's situational, as are a lot of pieces. And my argument here for not including other sets, and I can probably guess which one is coming to your guys' mind, but that other one, what happens when you're pulling a heavy attack? You deal damage instead of heal, right? And if just by saying that, there you go, you know which set I'm talking about. Kagranax, in my opinion, is a little bit of a superior set for those earlier stages in the game for PvE. But PvP wise as well, it's still pretty strong. It's going to add maximum magicka, magic recovery, maximum health. It's going to add weapon and spell damage, and it's going to reduce that resurrection time and restore extra magicka on a successful resurrection. Our next one in this category is Twice Born Star. Not to be slept on, and for some reason, sometimes forgotten. It's going to add maximum health, stamina, and magicka, and then it's going to give us 2 Mundus Stone boons. So, kind of like the Ethereal Crown from Skyrim, you're going to be able to activate 2 Mundus Stones at the same time and hold their boons, their bonuses, if you are Divines on a majority of your body pieces, especially in a PvE setup. And this is, to me, a PvE armor, or a set. You're going to want to run this with Divines on your armor in order to maximize that, because we're looking at approximately 350 of a recovery value a lot of the time when we're looking at a value from our Recovery Mundus stones. It's going to require 9 traits in order for you to craft it, and it's something that I recommend you guys look into. Now, the last things I'm going to say is if any of these sets put you off by how many research traits or whatever the requirements are, get yourself into a good guild. Find somebody who's willing to do this armor for you. Armor can get kind of expensive on the back end of things, especially if you're paying every couple levels. Pay attention to your character sheet because it's going to change as you level up what your armor is going to do for you dependent upon that star count in the top right corner most of the time. You need to just consider a whole lot of things, but crafted armor shouldn't be discounted, and that's what I'm gonna leave you guys with. I'll probably do something as far as like a top sets later, but I wanted to get these out there so that way everybody knew that these sets are something to definitely follow along with, definitely look into, definitely just like don't discard and by chance skip these and go straight for dungeon sets and things like that. You ain't got to spend a whole lot of money, you ain't got to spend a whole lot of time. Boom, you get into these and you are okay, you are decent, you are good. It'll in PvP, honestly, I think at times it just requires someone to be skillful to learn the game with these sets, right? So keep everything in mind, guys. Stay on top of your research. And that'll bring us to a close on our top crafted sets. This has been Courier666. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. You guys have a good one.